tell you a story. First thing you gotta understand, this time doesn't work the way you think it does. You can call me Oracle, if I'm the one who's talking to you. Welcome to the cult. So, I'm gonna try to make this quick. I keep saying dream safely, everyone. Part of the reason is this, in large part, and this. Now this is, whoop, original fairy tale origami kit. It's awesome. I got like 3 or 4 in. I made the frogs. I made the sword. I love it. I love it so much. You know why? Because it's about having kids love dreaming. In like a fairy tale way. In like an active participation way. That is awesome, in my opinion, objectively. So, and like, yeah, clearly it's meant for little kids. But like, I'm enjoying it, and I ain't gonna be angry about it. Now, this gets me to the art of dreaming, Carlos Castaneda. Now, a lot of people have a lot of opinions about Castaneda, like a lot of people have a lot of opinions about Crowley. I'm not gonna get into them because, like, I try not to actually have opinions that are controversial. But one of the things where, like, I talk about how I was told during my initiation that, you know, the master of all Kung Fu, who I take to be Wing Chun. That's just who I think of it. It is. Like, historically. I just think so. I can be wrong, but I just think so. Anyone who likes today's Wing Chun Kung Fu is like, no, you're actually right. I'm just guessing. But, like, anyway. So, Art of Dreaming. This is essentially about, like, the fact how basically physical reality, in metaphysical theory, hold on tight for this, is supported by non-physical reality. Like, non-physical reality makes physical reality possible, in theory. Specifically, the dream layer of non-physical reality makes physical reality possible, in theory. Scary thought, right? Yeah, that's why things like Tulpa, who have a strong enough piranha, who are able to overtake someone who has a weak will, in theory, is actually possible, and it's like a scary thing. Like, that's why Tulpa can be super scary. I'm just saying, be careful about Tulpa, in general. Most of them are actually pretty safe, I'm not gonna lie. But, like, you know, if you're having something mess with you and it's like clearly non-physical and it's talking to you and it's messing with you and you're like, are you a Tulpa? Generally speaking, they'll be like, yes, I'm a Tulpa. You can believe me or not, but like, I'm pretty sure that's actually how it works. Because of this thing called Tulpacrita. I'm not going to get into Tulpacrita because like, I only kind of sort of know how Tulpacrita works. But like, my point is, part of Tulpacrita is like, they get, any Tulpa can basically get like, you know, a little bit of prana, just to keep themselves going, if they just, you know, admit they're a Tulpa to someone who asks them. And like, prana, that's what keeps them going. That's the breath of legend. That's, literally, that's what that means. So like, and a Tulpa saying like, no, I don't want more like breath of life. I don't want Tulpacrita prana. No, that won't happen. I'm just saying, that's basically the long and short of why if you're like being messed with something and you're like trying to rule out what's messing with you, you're like, all right, I need to find out what's messing with me. You know, Rakshasa and Yaksha, they can lie. Some of them do. Some of them, it's their job to lie. But Tulpa need prana. They need breath of legend. They just do. Like, if you know about Tulpa, you know that. So, like, if you don't know about Tulpa, I'm telling you that. That's how that works. So, like, they need thought energy or mana, essentially, to survive. And so, you know, if they want it, there's ways they can get it. And, you know, wasting energy by saying they're not a Tulpa ain't what a smart Tulpa's gonna do. Because if it is a Tulpa and it says it's not a Tulpa, that makes it wicked easy to disbelieve in it. And that's not something like a tulpa, which is essentially just concentrated mana thought energy itself, wants to do. Not at all. It's a bad idea. Anyway, where was I going with this before I got into tulpas and tulpa Krita? Part of why I didn't want to get into this, because if I got into tulpa Krita, then I'd ramble about that and not this. All right. Oh yeah, Art of Dreaming. That's why part of why. So, essentially, the way this book talks about oh yeah, Carlos Castaneda talks about this. Was able to write his books apparently because he went through a specific kind of Mesoamerican, specifically Mexican American, if I understand correctly, Nahuatl initiation tradition that involved salvia divinorum first, followed by psilocybin mushrooms, followed by peyote, to able to dream while awake, which basically meant they could enter a space where their mind was able to better interact with dream layer reality, and they would be able to effectively manipulate it by manipulating their own what's called assemblage point. It's basically like an eye that exists where your aura interfaces with the aura of everything around you. And generally speaking, it hangs out here most of the time, as I understand it correctly. It basically makes our aura go like whoosh in a smooth thing where it intersects with the planet, and that's basically what an assemblage point is and how it works. And it's like, as I understand it correctly, like manipulating that is how effectively, specifically, the style of dream magic that this specific like group of people did, because it was dream magic. It was dreaming while awake, interacting with the like basically the Svapna Purana Prama, like the foundation dream, while you're in your own Bodhisvapna or waking dream. And that's essentially how that style of magic worked, that style of dream magic specifically. Or Svapna City, I would say. I guess that would be. All right. So, and part of that is his initiation was he was allowed to write his books. He was allowed to talk about his journey. But he was not allowed to talk about any of his other initiates' journeys except the stuff his teacher, his guide, specifically told him was okay. For example, I'm pretty sure that tribe, the Nahuatl specifically, I'm pretty sure that they're called a tribe. I'm pretty sure the Nahuatl, in that tradition, there was a reference in this book about a group of individuals that were part of the tradition that carried an extra spiritual load that were essentially both, if I understand it correctly, both male and female, whatever the gender of their body was. Like spiritually, they were both. That was what the extra load was. They didn't just have male or female as corresponded to their like physical body. They just had they had both, and like they were specifically meant to be like guides. I'm pretty sure that's actually what a two-spirit is. If anyone knows Native American culture and can actually tell me if that's correct for like North American, like I'm guessing non-Mexican because I have no idea how likely it is anyone who knows like knows specifically Nahuatl religion from this angle. I have no idea if there's even a chance someone would see this to be able to like confirm or correct me on this. So I'm just like, if anyone like can confirm at least from one of the many practically all the ones that live in the United States who are effectively displaced and now in many cases live in reservations because the American government kind of screwed them. Oh yeah, actually, while I'm on that topic, I'll try to finish the video in like under 15 minutes this time. But fun fact from the Files of the Six Day Detective Agency, the detective series that I wrote. I'm actually writing the third book in that series, Bug Out, right now. At the same time, I'm writing the third book in the Games of Thray series. Don't try to force it. But basically, among the high score, there's something that actually changes the completely is specifically supposed to address the way the American government addresses the reservations. So the reservations are actually supposed to be sovereign territory, and how much their sovereign territory really varies from state to state more than it should, because it's an agreement between the federal government and the Native American nations. And the government, in my opinion, the federal government is in most cases right to just cede to the states in cases of jurisdiction and sovereignty. But the problem with that in the case of the Native Americans specifically is each state is varying degrees of racist as to how they deal with that reservation, almost always exclusively to the detriment of the Native Americans who live on that reservation. So the core concept is essentially called the changing the Bureau of Bureau for Indian Affairs, which is still named that. I'm not joking. That's by itself racist, and that's not okay. The Bureau of Indian Affairs to the Organization for Advancement of Reservation Sovereignty. So basically, change the Bureau of Indian Affairs to ORS. And what did I name it? It was the it basically involved trying to pump money into making the reservations nicer and moving infrastructure in. So they were like, this basically had to do with modernizing the reservations and like cooperatively like building them into trade partners inside the United States that were basically like micronations that a lot of them involved having corporations that were having advanced medical technology, setting up non-corporate towns, basically like investing in like medical plant technology, like basically because I don't know who knows how, like, here's the thing, we could actually realistically be living in a Shadowrun like world pretty soon. I'm not even joking. A data jack, which is essentially something that lets you interface with virtual reality and a visual interface level directly with your brain, in theory, is actually not that invasive if it's done right, because it just involves a small plug going into your optic nerve. Scary, yes, but if it was done right, actually in theory not that dangerous. Especially if you were able to do it with like a simple induction like placement there. That's not even like a jack. That's just like it doesn't even have a probe. Like after it's installed, it's just like clean. Now, admittedly, it involves wiring to an optic nerve. Do you want like just anyone doing that? Obviously not. But we have cybernetic replacements for limbs that can make people run faster. And they existed 8 years ago. Like, I've made this point before, that there's an AI in a robotic shell named Sophie. Like, people are talking about, like, oh, the future will be crazy when we have flying cars. We don't have flying cars, but the future is now. I'm just saying. That's just my opinion. But anyway, in the age of robotic shells and cybernetic replacements, the notion of VR that you can have induction jacks, we have haptic suits. Why don't we have induction jacks? I mean, like basically because of human experimentation. Fun story about my second book, honestly. Oh, great, I'm bragging again. But like in my second book, one of the people who ends up being killed by the Beast of Slaughter to test the gatekeepers of hell, because they're supposed to deal with a fact that this thing has been unleashed from hell to kill people who are actually bad people. Like actually bad people. Like this dude, he was working on this technology, but on unwilling, basically captured guinea pig subjects. Human experimentation for money on in a U.S. military black site. But anyway, but he was one of the people who was tagged by the Beast of Slaughter to be collected for having a soul that was tainted too much for greed for the world to bear it. And the thing is about the second book is they were being tested by being checked to see, like, look, these are bad people. They objectively, each of them are harming the whole world, kind of just not just by existing, but by like what they continue actively doing by existing. Some of it is in small ways, and some of it is in huge ways. But the point of it is they all are never going to stop. and their own specific thing means they can be horrible in trillion different ways, but it's always with one motivation. Like the last one that's collected for pride is a judge who has quite a stash of the sippe. You know, it's bad. I'm not going to get into it. But, you know, like, I say the sippe, and you know I ain't talking about a sippy cup. So, anyway, my point is, they're being tested by saying, like, look, these are bad people. This is a judge that will, like, literally throw anyone under the bus to stay safe. That's why he got taken. He got taken by a dude who was a made man inside, who, like, had his own reasons for being, like, a pride candidate, but, like, he was a different kind of pride that was just too excessive for the world to bear. That's what like, essentially, they were all people who were, like, their sins were actually just their own personal sins were too much for the world to bear, and, like, hell sent someone to deal with them. And the basically the challenge in that for the gatekeepers in hell in this case was to determine, like, how do you deal with something that is actually making the world safer, but, like, if it does it too well, the world ends. Urgh. That's essentially what the quandary they're in the second book is. So maybe that'll get you to read the last 7 beasts who sought refuge. All right, you know what? I'm going to end with this. Guess what? The internet is the beast from the Book of Revelations, because it appears on the forehead of every place that needs to do business. Its number is www, which in Hebrew is 666, because every letter in Hebrew corresponds to a number. And the number the, or W, corresponds to 6. So 666 on the forehead, specifically the forehead, like, you know, and the address bar of every place, of everyone who wants to do business. Don't believe me? Go read Revelations. Have fun with that. It's also I make a point in the from the Files of the 6A Detective Agency that you can draw parallels between Clinton, GW, Obama, and Trump to the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So have fun with that. On that note, Zorkel, I'm the one who's talking to you. Try not to have nightmares with that. Sorry about that. Try not to have any chaya swapna with that. Dream safely, everyone.